Oh, we're streaming. Nice.
Yeah, it's easier that way because I can just like download it and use it for whatever. Like when I put it to YouTube, it's like easier for it to stay there. I
Yeah.
wanted to do Instagram. I'm like trying to download the Instagram videos when they're that long. It's like annoying, but it's
Yeah.
nice
Yeah.
to get people on their lives so people interact with them. And then the view is like a little bit better because it's like top bottom versus like how it's gonna look on Zoom. But
Yeah.
it's whatever. Anyway, we're live now, so we're good. So if you're watching this live, I'm here with my man Brendan. Been working with him past what 4.5 months at this point.
Yeah. July.
He's seen amazing results. Yeah, since July, beginning of July. So right through the summer, right through his birthday, and we're about to probably lose about 10 more pounds going through the holidays. So really tough time of year for you to get started with all this. Like going through the summer, you had a lot of cool plans over the summer. You were going on the boat, you were golfing a lot. I'm sure we'll get into that. And then the holidays, man, this is a time where everyone procrastinates. So with you seeing the progress you've had so far, and just the conversations we have on a weekly basis, and you just kind of finishing up your first round of the program, um, I figured now's as good a time as of any to now's as good as time as any to talk about your results and like what you've experienced so far, man. So Brendan, why don't you go ahead and like introduce yourself to anyone who's watching, those who don't already know you. Give us, your background, what you do for work, what your lifestyle is like on the day to day.
Yeah. So I'm Brendan Nixon. I'm a real estate agent in Boston. So I'm 28 years old. I have been in real estate for the past 6 years. Grew up in Connecticut. Went to school in Rhode Island at Bryant University, and I have been up and down in my weight journey throughout my life. Do you want me to get into that? I can go there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I grew up pretty heavy in a family. My family had some injuries. So both of my parents had back injuries. So sports was like not a thing. Two people my dad had many surgeries, and so we were encouraged to play sports, and we did play some sports, but I just never really got into it, and made bad choices kind of growing up. So I grew up as kind of a heavy kid. Um,
Mhm.
High school stuff like that was kind of always not super comfortable in my own skin, and then uh, around college, once I got into freshman year, everyone was talking about the freshman 15, and I was insistent I was not going to gain the freshman 15. I ended up losing like 40 pounds. And so I got like really skinny. Yeah, I got really into ultimate frisbee, got like 190, like maybe 200 pounds. I was like 230. So I lost weight in freshman year of college, had a couple, like was a drinker in college for sure. And so I was just like, up and down a little bit. And then post grad, got back into running. I was back into running in around 2019. I ran like crazy, like talking like 5K every morning before work. And I was this weird kind of like skinny fat, as you had called it. That was the best way to describe it. When just like kind of counting calories, but not lifting at all. And then COVID hit, and I gained a ton of weight. So I was just drinking, just eating like crap. And for the
Awesome.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was pretty, our friends were just like we would go out, fish, do some drinking, eat like crap, and we were just the life was on pause because you were in the pandemic and there was nothing to do. So I gained a ton of weight. I ballooned up to 304 and it had taken years after that. So I went from like 188 to like 220 from 2019
Hey,
to
you're
like
188.
yeah. And then I was like, yeah, I know, it was crazy. I was like, when I was running at my peak. So COVID, I gained like 60 or 70 pounds over like 2 years. So it was a lot. And I just like kind of had enough. And I started running. I started going back to boxing. Like I had changed
I
shirt
remember that.
sizes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it was
Mhm.
bad.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, a couple things jump out, man. So number one, it sounds like this is something you've kind of struggled with your whole life. Like you said, yo, I was like a heavier kid, got to college, and then I got into fitness so that I could, kind of reverse some of that. But then even when you went about it, it sounds like you were up and down. Like you went all to both ends of the spectrum. So I'm sure that was tough, man. Like, what can you say about that? Like, did you feel, I guess, like, damn, is this time gonna be like all the other ones? Like this, oh, am I even capable of doing this kind of thing? Did those feelings ever come up for you?
100%. It
Yeah.
was a good so those feelings came up. Somebody once told me, they were like, your mind and your body are one. So your mind and body are like this. And so when your mind is good, your body's good, vice versa. And I'll notice like you have the worst mental fog when you're like super heavy and eating like shit, and just like it's really bad. And you forget, like now I feel great. Like I'm exercising, I'm
Yeah.
lifting, I'm eating right, I'm tracking calories, I'm not drinking. Like feel like actually feel the best I've ever felt in my life. And like my skin is clear. Like I've been on a regimen for this. My business has increased. And this is
Oh,
not
that's good.
like you haven't paid me to say all this. Like these are actual genuine results that have happened. And it's like as a consequence of being consistent and doing all these habits that, habit stacking and learning and doing all these things. So
Yeah, I think that's important too. I'm sure we'll touch on that a little later too.
yeah.
But yeah, the fact that your business grew, because I feel like that's such a limiting belief for people who are in your shoes, like guys who are realtors or, oh, they're trying to close the year out. Like you told me before, like, yo, for realtors, it's like what you said, summer and fall are like really busy seasons, right? And then you go into the winter. So everyone's trying to, or am I getting that wrong?
Yeah,
Summer
well,
and
pretty much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Summer is
wait,
busy.
maybe. Okay, so summer like this time of year, that 6 month stretch, call it. We'll call it summer and fall, and then like going into the winter, everyone's trying to close the Q4 strong, close the year strong, whatever, because they know it's about to get slower. So it's like that constant up and down. But that's where people will say, "Hey, it's not a good time for me because work is busy." So that's like summer and fall. But then like when things slow down for them, well, now I got to grind to make up for the business that I'm not getting. So it's like it's never going to be the right time. So I think you've kind of been a great example of someone who's overcome that belief of like, hey, I can be busy with this, like, because this is taking up, it is a time commitment, but you're also saying no to other things that have been distractions. But it's like I can do that and grow my business. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I get from that, honestly. And but yeah, touching on like where you were before with all this. I know you struggle with it. You've been up and down. The interesting thing is, I think when you lost the weight, like you probably told yourself, yeah, I'd love to be under 200 pounds, like whatever goal you had for yourself. Then you got there and you almost didn't like the results. Like, damn, I didn't think I would look like this. I thought I'd maybe have a little more muscle, whatever the case
Yeah.
is. So, um, that's something you and I focus on a lot. I remember the first things you came in and told me about your situation. I was like, oh, damn, we haven't been doing any strength training. Oh, that's like low hanging fruit for you. Like, that's something we could focus on immediately. And like, when you lose the weight this time, you'll look differently. I'm not saying we can't run at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not demonizing that. But if we just mix this in with that and we've been able to do that, you're able to achieve the look you want, even if we are going slower in terms of weight loss. We're less extreme.
Right.
So I guess with all that said, like, what do you feel like has been different in terms of your goals and like the approach we've taken this time around versus like what you've tried in the past? And then you tried a bunch of things that like haven't necessarily worked for you.
Yeah. So I mean, like you don't know what you don't know. So I think the best part about working with you has been the muscle train the lifting and like muscular endurance training and things like that versus just running. Because I was 188 pounds and like if you look at the pictures, like I looked back like 188 pounds is not heavy on a 6 foot guy. Like that's not a
Mhm.
lot of like fat, I would imagine. You could probably be leaner, but
Yeah.
I looked kind of just like skinny fat. Like I was like, kind of gross. And like now I feel like I'm heavier than I was then. I'm 224, but I feel like I'm filling out my frame a little bit better.
Right,
Um,
right.
so like the changes have been gradual, but it's been so important to do the muscle training. Overall just feel great, like clothes fit better. Like there's nothing that feels better than putting on clothes that like fit, especially in my industry where you have to be dressed up and face to face with people.
You
Like
got the sweater on now, man. Yeah.
yeah, like I look like the AC/DC guy when he was discovering his like childhood, school uniform was out. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting choice, but it's winter. Um,
That's where we going with it, man. Yeah. Go ahead.
listen, I don't know. That's what I'm blaming today. I had a big client. I was taking out clients, so it was good. So yeah, $3 million house under agreement and like selling bigger listings. Like I had a stretch where I sold like 5 million worth of houses where like 2 years ago I was like struggling to sell like anything. So or more than 2 years ago, but you know what I mean? Like so it's like a whole lifestyle change and it's not just like I'm in the gym living for the gym.
Yeah, it's not like an obsession. I mean, to be fair, too, like you doing better in your business is probably also the bigger component of that is like you being dedicated to the business and learning the skill over time and building the book of business and the relationships. Like obviously, just you being better as a realtor. But I'm sure maybe how would you say this has helped that? Like focusing on the fitness because you're talking about the habits and lifestyle changes with that.
Like the number one thing is just like the accountability of like getting your actual like workouts in. It changes like my whole perspective. Before, this is actually a real story. So I used to be like when I was at my heaviest, I used to go to the gym with my friend Mitch and I would Venmo him $50 the night before. And I would go, if I don't go to the gym, you're keeping this $50.
Yeah.
because I was like I was it was like putting a cat in a bath. It was like so I hated it. And now I'm like excited to go to the gym. Like I know the people there. Like I'm seeing like I would have never been that guy. But yeah, no, I really like the lifestyle change in general. It forces you to like wake up. Like I have something to work towards. Like I have a goal. And like that goal like helps me feel better in my business. So it's like, everything stacks and everything being consistent helps.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I mean, obviously I work in fitness, that's like one thing, but I feel the same way. And I was talking to the client I had on the call before we talked today about the same thing of like, dude, you could work like a 10-hour day and like feel good about it, but it's like you feel like something's missing if you're not doing if you know you're sacrificing something else to do that, if that makes sense. It's like, yeah, I did everything I was supposed to do for work, I hit up the leads, listed a house, whatever the case is. But it's like, but I didn't work out. I ate like shit today. So it's like I feel like some of those habits compound in a way of like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I would say like just based off our conversations we have every week, I would say that's definitely been the case for you. Because dude, I've noticed, I guess we can get into this too. Like, um, dude, you've said no to a lot of things that have probably been working against you, not only for your fitness progress, but for your business as well. So it's
Yeah.
like it's almost been like you prioritizing your fitness has almost been a meta habit that's helped you carry over to other areas of your life. So it wasn't this thing of like what people fear. Oh my God, I gotta live in the gym to look a certain way. I'm a realtor, I don't have any time, blah, 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 right? Whatever story people are telling themselves. So it becomes this thing of, all right, what do I have to sacrifice or what do I have to cut out to make time for this? And is it gonna be work? But it's like, if anything, it seems like you've been more locked in with work because this is causing you to not only cut out things in your life that are working against your fitness progress, but also working against your business. So it's like you just been a little more, just from talking, you just been more focused and dialed in all around. So I mean,
Yeah.
what can you say that? Like, what do you? Well, I don't want to guide you on that. Like, what can you say to that in general?
Yeah. In terms of like cutting out bad stuff.
Yeah, or like just how it's kind of impacted your habits in general. But yeah, like things you've cut out.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, obviously like cutting out drinking is a big one. And that was not something I had to do by any means. It was like, I can count calories and count drinks in there too. But I was like, well, what would happen if I just cut out drinking? And I was like, oh, well, now I feel good. And it was like a couple days and then a couple weeks. And then I'm like, oh, now I feel good. And I'm not saying like I have to be like sober or anything like that, but I'm like, I've just continued this naturally because of how good I feel. And it's like the
Yeah.
slow little things that you notice. It's like, wow, I'm sleeping better. Like I'm not waking up hungover. Like I'm excited to wake up in the morning. Like I have a sleep schedule, like saying no to like going out to the bar. Like I was going out to the bar so much. I was going out like with friends, like because we do a lot of dinners and stuff in our industry, and it's very usual and casual to just, hey, let's go out for a celebratory meal. Let's all get a couple drinks and like, oh, let's meet for drinks and chat.
Culture. Mhm.
Yeah, it's so built into the culture in real estate and sales in general. Like one of my first jobs, like beer on tap. Like after 5 o'clock, you had unlimited beer, you had cans of beer, like all that stuff. And it's
I would
so
be,
like prevalent. And you
yeah,
think just because you're surrounded by it, like you have to do it. And like the most empowering thing I feel every day when I go to work, like is two things. I'll be like, okay, I lifted today, so I feel like good because I have like a pump going and I like actually feel good and I like walk around tall. But like two, I didn't drink. And like we'll go out to dinner and I'll be like, oh, I feel good. Like people will be like, oh, do you want to, like, oh, like have a drink, like it's cool. And I'm like, no, I just, I'm just taking it easy for a little while. And, that feels good. And it's like a little like mental discipline, like each day. And that stacks and that makes you like, focus on the relationships you care about, focus on the people you care about, like focus on the hobbies. Like I used to like not read as much. Now I'm reading way more, watching way more movies and comedy. Like I love movies. I love stand-up comedy. I'm learning
yeah.
Arabic. And I'm very
Well,
much
well,
aware of
get
like,
back to your roots. Yeah.
I know, I know. So I'm like, I'm learning Arabic, which is like something I wanted to do for years. Like,
Nice,
you know,
man.
I feel like the next thing I'm going to say is like I started beekeeping or some shit like that.
We gotta like look for shit to do now. Look for hobbies.
Hive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy, man. Yeah, dude, that's so interesting because people think they're gonna be like way busy. I'm not saying you're not busy compared to where you were before, but it's like this, I would say, has been a time commitment for sure. And we've like had to talk about that and dude, literally before this call, we're talking about how can we make the workouts shorter and more effective so that you can get
Right.
all your shit done. But like, um, it's like the time investment that you put into this, it seems like it's bought you more time because you're cutting out shit that was taking more time and bandwidth. Like it's not just about the 3 hours a night you went out drinking. It's also the next day being unfocused, not being able to wake up on time, being foggy brained at work. So you're 6 hour work day is really only 2 hours of productive work, shit like that. So I think that's interesting. And even just what you said about the alcohol is interesting to me too, is because I never told you had to cut it out. I was never like,
Oh,
I'm usually not that coach, like, hey, we got to do it this way, or, we got to black and white, we got to cut this out, it's bad, whatever. I'm not the preachy like fitness alcohol guy, right? Because
right.
I drink from time to time too. But one of the first questions you came on with was like, hey man, what about alcohol? Like, do I have to cut that out? Is there a way we can make it work with this? Because I got all these happy hours and stuff. And I was like, yeah, man, we broke down the strategy and everything. I'm like, look, honestly, I think you need to cut back in comparison to what you were doing. Like, we were pretty transparent about that. But I'm like, it doesn't mean you can't do it at all. And you kind of took that and said, you know what? I don't really need this. Like, you started weighing the trade-offs. And the more we spoke about it, you're like, I was going over my finances. It's costing me money. Now I'm not making as much money while I'm spending money because I'm not focused at work. Like, and then it's also not helping the fitness stuff. It's like, it's not even worth the trade off. And then you started realizing like, hey, I go out and I can still like have a good time. I don't need a drink all the time. You've been tested with several events where it's like a birthday or some thing or like a happy hour you're obligated to go to, and you'll still go and not drink, and you didn't feel weird about it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. And yeah, it's just been this thing of like the culture of cutting out alcohol is usually like this tally marker. Oh my God, 90 days, 30 days. And everyone announces it on Facebook. Fine, good for them. But it's, you're creating so much pressure around like hitting a certain tally mark. And then it's like, then what? What do you, and I'm not saying I'm not happy for people to do that. Like, that's a great step. But I'm saying like, it just becomes this countdown of like, all right, well, now I'm going to binge on day 91 or after New Year's when
Or
I go to
like
the
like
party.
a like a sober October. Like
Yeah.
I think it's good that people have a break,
Yeah.
and it's great. And people always feel good or sober or like dry January or something like that. But it's
Yeah.
like you're right. Because like when they get to the end of October, they're like, all right, November 1st, like I've been itching this whole time. And it's like, and that's not
But
the right thing. Yeah.
yeah, anyone could do anything for 30 days. I'm not saying it's not tough, but it's like anyone can do it. I think the reason I rambled on about that is because like I think this time it's been different for you because I've noticed you haven't put pressure on it. Like, you haven't really spoken about it much unless I've asked you. It
Right.
wasn't this celebratory, look at me, I didn't drink this week or like anything like that. It was kind of just like, honestly, it hasn't even been on my mind. I'm not counting down any days because it's just something I don't think about anymore. It's not something that's a part of my life anymore. And when you do
Right.
reintroduce it back, if you decide, it's kind of been an indefinite thing. I'll drink when it comes, when the time comes. And if I do, I'll probably have a different relationship to it. So I would
Yep.
say, man, like the way you've approached the alcohol thing, like regardless of what we're doing, I think it's been a big thing.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
Yeah. And I guess so. Where would you say you are now in terms of results, like in terms of your fitness? Like, you talked about the routines and like the non-tangible stuff. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's great. Like, in it, it's helped your business in a way. Um, I'm sure there's physical results too. Like, what are you noticing there?
The physical results, I like can look in the mirror in the bathroom and be like, wow, like I'm noticing definition. Like I'll note like the two things I've noticed, I'll be like, wow, I can notice like my shoulder muscles and my triceps, like little slight things. The progress pics are cool.
Body scan that you built muscle while cutting this
Body
time. That's
scan,
cool.
like
Yeah, that was cool.
I just notice how much better I feel overall and like how many like it sounds super preachy and cliche, but it's like when you lose, like it's not just about losing weight and losing fat. Like it's really not about that. It's a whole like lifestyle change. Because in order to lose weight and lose fat, you have to cut out bad habits, and you have like I have cut out alcohol, but I've also cut out going out with people or like going to events and stuff like that. Like that I don't want to be at, or like I'm staying out late just for the sake of networking so that I can meet more people that like to go out and drink, or like now I've saved money. Like it's changed the way I look at things. It's changed my free time and my sleep schedule and my ability to fill in like where I would otherwise be going out and networking and partying on the weekends. I go, okay, now I'm gonna like stay in, can organize my room, I can work on my relationships, I can read, I can watch movies, I can go do my
Your
path,
baseboards.
clean my baseboards that we both the other person did. I, I've spent so much money fishing this year and so much time fishing and caught no fish, but I love fishing, so it's like
It's for sport, man. You
that's a
catch
good
it, put a tan. That's it.
if you go out and you fish and you just like are in nature and enjoying yourself, like that's a win. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you're making time for things you probably like wanted to get around to more, pouring into things that
yeah,
are more meaningful, it sounds like. Dude, yeah, that's
the
such a
wall
powerful
at the waistline, like both of those things is like a win. So
yeah.
and I feel like every day is like a gift. Like that, and that sounds so cliche, like I'm on like death row or something where I'm like every day is a gift. but it's like it like genuinely, I'm very appreciative of like I take a step back and I'm like, wow, like I'm 28. You know, I'm like almost 30, but I have like so much time left. And I'm like, I can go whichever trajectory I want and like hard work. You know, I can make changes now while I'm still young. It's not too late. I don't feel like I'm like, like I have a different outlook on life and I feel good. So
Yeah, yeah, that's such a powerful thing too, because now you're framing of like less victim mentality. Oh, I grew up this way, and oh, I didn't have someone to show me this earlier. Like I've struggled with this my whole life. Like whatever story it is. I'm not saying that's not valid, but I am saying at least you're in a driver's seat now. Because
well,
now, like you just break it down to what's actually happening. You're making changes now, and you're making changes that are gonna you're gonna be able to sustain, whether regardless of whether or not we work together in the future. But it's like just establishing that the way things were don't have to be how they continue to be. Like it's just like nothing that you've done up to this point matters. It's like, all right, what are we gonna do moving forward? We just gotta unlearn some bad shit, do the new shit, pretty much.
yeah.
So yeah, and that's why I like doing these interviews too, because it's like, bro, that's really hard to articulate in a before and after. Like people, that's the flashy shit that gets likes. You see, oh my god, his waistline's better, and whatever we say in the caption. But I mean, hearing straight from the horse's mouth about things that aren't necessarily tangible, things you don't see on a graph, I think that's pretty powerful. And even on that note, like with the physical results, we don't really you're happier with how you look now, even though you're heavier than you were when you were at your lowest, 188, 187, before we
Yeah.
started working together. It's we don't really care about weight as much as we think we do. It's body composition when it comes to like how you look and all that. And then even still, you're still running. Like, didn't you just run? You said 8 mile run, and you ran a 5K. Like, we're still making room for that.
I was never a runner. I remember like in elementary school we had to do the mile run and it was like I dreaded it. Like it was the worst day ever. And every year we had to do it and it was like so like I knew I couldn't run. I wasn't into sports and it was like so rough and it was just like dreading that day. And when you heard the mile run was coming up, it was like pure like in that pit of your stomach gut dread. And it
All day.
wasn't because I like just hurt a little bit. It was because I was the heavy kid and I could not do it and I couldn't figure out how to solve that problem. And like now as an adult, like I've learned and I've taught myself, and now like running has become something I really enjoy. Like very fortunately, I live in New England. I'm in Boston. Like, there's a big run culture and you get to see the foliage and you get to
I
meet
didn't
people,
know.
run clubs. It's so cool. So,
I didn't know it was like a Boston thing.
oh yeah, the Boston Marathon. I
Oh,
didn't
duh. That's right. Boston Marathon. Yeah.
like you don't notice it until you notice it. It's
Yeah.
like that red car, the yellow car theory or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah. Now you see it everywhere when you buy it. Yeah.
like, oh
Like,
my God, the Boston Marathon. And then you look around and there's like 8 million running shops. Would you believe this? And like I, as my fat self right now, went to a freaking running gait analysis like
oh, yeah.
program. And I'm gonna do a video on it later. It's like, dude, you're not Tom Brady. Like, slow the fuck down.
Not
But
Tom Brady. Yeah. Yeah. She
but
got to the sides.
I'm all like geeked out on that. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, now my back doesn't hurt. And now I'm not running weird. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's
so
kind of opened the floodgates because, like, I think that's what's interesting, right? Like, dude, you're in, I guess, the mecca of marathons. Like, Boston Marathon's pretty big, so that means the run culture there is big. But you just had the blinders on, focus on whatever you're focused on, so you didn't even notice it. But now
yeah.
that we're at a different place, and it's like when you told me day one you wanted to get started, we weren't even thinking about 5Ks and 10Ks and running. We were just, hey, let's try to lose the first 20. Like, that's kind of what it was. But I think we opened the floodgates, and now it's like evolved to that. Like, your goals can change. Like now, 3, 4 months in, we got to a point where you're like, hey, I want to start running again. And now you're doing this. Like this is stuff I didn't tell you to do. I didn't say go get a gate analysis. This stuff you wanted to do on your own. So I think that's interesting too. How it kind of just opened the floodgates in terms of now your interests have changed a little bit in
And
a
it
good
just goes to show, man, no matter what you do in this world, there's always something you can be spending way more money on.
way. Yeah, I don't know how much that shit costs, but the gate analysis.
They could tell me that you put ice cubes in your shoes and I'd do it. They're just
Just geeking out. Yeah, they're gonna make some shit up, bro.
like, yeah, 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 buy these socks. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you're gonna start sending me Huberman videos every day. Once you go down that rabbit hole, like, yo, did you know
I don't
this?
know who that is. No.
That's good. That's probably good. Like, cause you gonna
Yeah.
go down the rabbit hole where you're gonna be spending like 8 hours a day, watching the videos. Yeah,
It's perfect. I'm ready for it.
not gonna do any more real estate, just full time watching the YouTube.
I'm watching YouTubes. So
So, what would you say are the biggest lessons you've learned, I guess, about fitness and like about yourself through the whole process? Like, obviously, there's a lot you can say in terms of your results, and we're still on our way with that. But I mean, what are some things you've learned?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I know I'm
It's
putting you on the spot with that.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
probably
yeah. No, I just
yeah.
it's like a lot, and there's a lot I could say. In terms of like things I've learned from this program, it's like you can't slack on your confidence, and like truly your mind body are connected. And when you remove yourself from bad habits, or when you remove the bad habits, there's so much time. I think that maybe that's what I'll say. I'll say time, your perspective on time changes based on how you're living your life. Because
Mm,
you could sit, like, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and if you do, like, if you drink and stuff like that, like, you just spend your days, like, either hungover, or like, going to the next event, or trying to, like, figure out how you're going to work out today because you're kind of sluggish or something like that.
mm.
So your time changes. Like, now I can, like, wake up and go exercise and stuff like that. The other thing is, like, how important, like, your longevity is to your physical health ties to your mental health. Like, taking out alcohol from the equation, like, it's just so important, because it's not just how you feel. Like, I'm sure there's chemicals, right? There's, like, endorphins and stuff, because you can tell when you're running, when you're doing, like, a runner's high, you can feel, like, super good. But just, like, the confidence that comes along with it, and, like, yeah, I can do this thing because I've seen myself push past what I thought my limit was, and I can do this thing, and I can take on this sale, and I can, blah
Oh,
blah.
is that what you mean when you said earlier, like don't slack on your confidence, or don't second guess yourself? Is it that like you do hard things consistently and you can carry it over to this? You are who you say you are. You're kind of like keeping your word to yourself.
The gym is very good because it takes something so intangible, like goals. Your goal could be selling $1 million house. Your goal could be getting married. Your goal could be, I don't care what it is. Like, it could be becoming, a doctor or something like that. It takes the intangible and makes it tangible, because you can dial down my goal of, I want to be healthy and happy, to I want to be this weight in this muscle composition, to, I have to hit these workouts, to I have to lift this weight, to I have to lift this weight
Oh,
this
I
many
think so.
times.
Yeah.
And it makes it so tangible, and from there you get consistency. Now I'm eating better. Now I'm going to the grocery store and I'm saying hi to people, and you have to cut out the bad habits, because there is no shortcut. That's another one. It's like, you could, like, Ozempic, like, I'm sure there's an application, and I respect whoever uses it, and, like, if you have to, like, there are some genuine cases, but there's always stuff that gets abused. um
Mhm.
and I'm sure, like, when it comes to, like, Ozempic, or, like, starvation diets, if you're doing that, or, like, anything where you're cheating the system, or, like, steroids, or, like, well, I don't care what it is. It's like, doing it the right way ultimately will give dividends to your life
Mhm.
overall, just earning it rather than going the shortcut. So
That makes sense because you do see a lot of cases where guys lose weight fast. Like they'll just do the next diet. Like keto
keto.
was hot a while ago. And this is not against anyone doing carnivore because people are probably getting great results from that. But it's just like another thing. You know what I mean? Like there's always another thing. And they do the results and then they lose the weight fast, but then they put it on just as fast. So it's like I always say you can't outwork the amount of time it takes to establish like an identity or a lifestyle. Like, yeah, you can get results really fast. They may not even be the results you want, but you can get them. You can lose weight, you lose 50 pounds in a few months, but it's like even if you take a year to lose 20 pounds, at least you're doing the things that make you a fit person. So it's like now the habits are established, it's part of your lifestyle, and then it becomes a part of your identity. Then the results are a lot more malleable. So it's like I feel like you're kind of killing two birds with one stone when you say all that. When it's like, yeah, you're losing the weight, it's slow and steady. It's not like 50 pounds in a few months. It's 25 in 4 months. That, and that's a good pace anyway. But you're also just like keeping your word to yourself consistently. You're running a couple times a week. You're doing all the right things on a daily basis, and it's impacting your health habits there. So yeah,
Yep.
that's an interesting one too. Yeah, man. Yeah, you said something about the socially too. Like, what would you say? There's any wins there? Like, you're talking about just confidence to be a little
Yeah,
more
yeah,
grocery
like,
store, for example. I've
I mean,
noticed you like breaking out of your shell. I know we talk about it more.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, you got to go on dates. You got to, hit women up and stuff like that. And, like, I think just getting out of your shell, and, the confidence that comes with, like, losing all this weight. It's not
Mhm.
just, like, how you look, it's how you feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, just been more consistently, like, working on my dating life and stuff like that. Gone on some good dates, was dating, and, things like that. So
I
it's
hope
been
none of that
good.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you know what? It's like you're 28 and it's like anything in this world, you know? Another part is like you have to be intentional about whatever you do. And I used to assume like when I would see people, I had this realization in like college. I assumed, and this is so stupid, but it comes from someone who was not in the gym growing up or an athlete growing up. I used to assume that I was born into this like unlucky world where I was like this unlucky kid who just like didn't have the genetics or didn't have the fitness or didn't have the fit parents or didn't get taught the right lessons and like everybody else like had this thing that I didn't have. And I was like, fuck that. I'm like, there's nothing they have that I don't have access to, luckily. Like, you know, for the most part, you know, you've got your health, you've got your ability. Like I'm very fortunate in that regard. And it's like these people have worked towards this. They didn't wake up, you know, in great shape. It's taken years. And that has been another big lesson is
Yeah.
watching how long it takes to get the result. And
Mm.
like that's such a good thing because we are so instant like gratification in this world. And it's
Yeah.
like sometimes earning something and taking a long time to get there is what you need. So I think I'm frozen. Oh,
Am I
I'm
still
back.
there? My bad.
Yep. No, no
All right.
problem. I think
Now
it
what
froze.
the hell just happened? Yeah, my thing froze. Oh shit, am I still streaming? All right, we're good. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one I hear too, like the discipline component of it and just like learning how to delay gratification. Like that's one of like the easiest way. Not only it's not an easy process, but it's like one of the simplest ways you can implement that type of thinking. Because now you're applying it to sales and like we talk about it all the time. I always compare like weight loss to sales of like, dude, you could do all the inputs today. You could eat the right foods, eat the right amounts of foods, work out, and wake up heavier tomorrow. But over a long enough like time period, it averages out because you're controlling the inputs. You can't control the outputs. Same thing in sales. You could dial 100 things, dial 100 people, knock 100 doors, and it's like you may not see the results from that tomorrow, but it's like if you keep doing it, there's no way you're not going to get better than where you were before. So it's like just same shit, man.
Well, also like a huge thing is like paying attention to the
Yep.
results and inputs.
My thing's like cutting out.
I think I got you. Are
All
you
right,
there?
bro. Yeah, it's
Yep.
fucking GP ass Wi-Fi, bro.
Oh, no,
It's like keeps cutting out. My bad.
no, no
Um,
problem. I was just gonna say, I have a good one real quick regarding
yeah,
so
go ahead.
so one of the best things about like this program has been just having someone to watch your back in terms of like the inputs and the outputs and just like okay, you know, my weight went up a little bit. It's like, well, you know, have you been doing like the steps? Have you been, you know, eating under these calories or hitting these calories? It's like or you know, what's going on? And like you have been great because it's like you're like a quasi like sounding board. Like you'll be like a therapist sometimes or a sounding board and then it's also like
We
the
talk about mad shit. Yeah, like
but dude,
it's
you just
fun.
have so much knowledge. Like you are just a very intelligent guy, and you have a lot of like that. Like, dude, any question I ask you when it comes to like a workout or nutrition or just like life in general, sometimes you've got the answer. And it's like, yeah, we were talking about it today, like the energy, high glycemic versus low glycemic. Like, bro, what? I wouldn't know how to figure all that out. Like, you know, and
Yeah,
just like
it's yeah.
so.
It's tough. I think just I appreciate the kind words, man, because I definitely don't have all the answers, but I could give you some insight if you're open to it, kind of thing. But specifically with the fitness stuff too, it's like I think that's everyone's issue. It's like, well, this guy said this, and then I saw a post that said this, and it's like all the information contradicts each other. So you're paralyzed because you don't want to be wrong, because you don't
Yeah.
want to commit to something and feel like you're wasting your time. So I mean, like my job or any coach's job should be to simplify it. So I'm like, all right, bro, cut the fucking noise. Like this is what you got to work on. Like when you sent me that reel the other day about the blood sugar stuff, I'm like, there's some validity in what he's saying, but like cut through the bullshit. Like this is what he's saying. This is
Yeah.
what matters. So yeah, that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to simplify it because the more complicated we make this, the harder it is for you to take action. And the job this early is just to get you to take action on the right things. Yeah, we're gonna learn as we go, but it's like, bro, that's gonna get you further than reading 100 articles about what you think you should be doing and arguing with people in the comment sections or watching other trainers' content. Like, bro, you got to do the work at some point.
Out of
So
context. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And
for sure, man.
clip that into a reel. Stop fucking listening to social media influencers tell you how to lose weight and listen to the TikToks. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, bro. It'll be a lot of, and a lot of it's, we talked about this earlier, like a lot of it's just like polarizing stuff to get clicks. So it's like,
yeah.
it,
Best investment I've ever made has been a coach, not a trainer, because you're a coach, not a trainer, right?
yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how.
coach, not a
That's how.
trainer. Because it's nutrition and fitness. It's not just go work out. I can't tell you how many people or like times like I used to have a personal trainer. No, like the guy was great. He knew all the workouts, like excellent, but I wasn't seeing results because I was doing all the working out, but I had no idea what I was doing when it came to the eating. And it's like you hear that all the time. It's 80% nutrition, and then you don't realize it until you realize it. You're like, oh fuck, like it really is.
Dude, yeah, yeah. We talked about that. Like that's kind of why I stopped training because I used to do the same thing. It's like, dude, just a business model. It's like, all right, the way I look at it is like a trainer, depending on your trainer and like how y'all train, I think in a lot of cases, the trainer loses value the longer you guys work together. Because once I show you the exercise and I teach you how to do it and you know how to work hard, I feel like my value goes down over time as a trainer. Versus like with what we're doing, I think it goes up over time because there's more shit we could talk about because we're leveraging our time. You're gonna work out on your own, you're gonna send me videos, but like we can actually talk about the shit, like big picture stuff. We can talk about nutrition. There's a lot we can get into in terms of concepts or just like holding you accountable. Because the business model of like training with somebody 3 times a week, it's like, all right, they're just there to work out with you, bro. They're not helping you with nutrition. So I'm not saying that's the case all the time or that trainer's bad. Like I used to do personal training, but the main reason I got out to do this was because I didn't like feeling like people were working with me 3 times a week. I'm like, yo, you're wasting your time. I'm wasting my time. You're
But
wasting your money. You're not seeing results because we
there's
know
more
you got to eat right. You know
respect.
what I mean? It just
Yeah.
wasn't aligned for me anymore. So it's kind of just what it is.
And going off of that, man, like one of the best things that we have, and it's been great, is like we're kind of at similar stages in life. Like we're
Yeah.
both guys, we're both running businesses, that we're trying to grow. We're both heavily involved in like the social media world where we're trying to like grow there. And, we bounce ideas off each other. Like, hey, let's do this for trying like, let's try out Zooms or let's try out Reels or like, hey,
Talking
this
about content. Yeah, that's just fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
like content and like stuff in common and just like so it's good to have someone you can share like life perspective. Like if you were like a 70-year-old woman, I probably wouldn't have a lot to like there wouldn't be that connection that's kind of
Yeah.
there. So
No, that's a fact, bro. And that's kind of like one of the main things I like about doing what I do now is like you can like the way I work with people is it's not just, hey, come all, come one kind of thing. I'm like, all right, I gotta make sure we vibe, like make sure it's a good fit because the only way you guys are gonna see results is if I feel like I can help you and we vibe. Because bro, if you're not motivated or you don't respect me or like you don't like my vibe or my style, we don't get along. That's it's not gonna work. So it's like a disservice to both of us to move forward with it. So like, yeah, dude, I work with a ton of guys like you where it's like, yo, we shoot the shit and it's like not just fitness all the time. We actually relate on a lot of things. So yeah, that's what keeps it fun too. Outside of that.
and one big thing is you're an excellent salesperson. And it's not just like and that is not like you're not a pushy person. You're not this used car salesman pitching lies. You've got a good product, you offer a good service, and you know how to deliver it, and you have a good message, and you know how to convert leads. And I think above all, and that's not like I think people in sales respect that a lot and they can relate to it. And, having someone who they respect is a big part of like, okay, mutual interest.
No, I appreciate you saying that. That's funny too, because I think when we first connected, like, dude, you didn't even know me from a hole in the wall, but
Yeah.
we were talking to each other on Instagram. I think I don't know, comment on the post. I reach out to you and
No, no,
like,
no, no. I'll
you're
tell
just
you
like,
how
yo,
you I'll
what's
tell you how you DM me.
yeah,
You,
what's
yeah,
the
I go, this motherfucker just called me fat. I was like,
like right?
it was like a DM from this random guy, and I go, he's like, hey man, like I help real estate agents who like eat fast food on the like when they're out the door or something like that. I'm like, what? I'm like, who is this guy? And then you followed up again, and I was like, you're in real estate, you get a million of these like hidden messages, and you like, I rarely open them. And I was like, oh, you followed up again, and then a third time, and you just like hit me at the right, like they always talk about that in sales, you hit the person like
Yeah,
right at the right time. And I'm like, all right, I'll have like a quick phone call. I'm like, let's see what this guy's at. I'm like,
yeah,
guy's like just dicking around with me. He's like, I work on. I'm like, yeah, I was like a little bit like, oh, he like called me fat a little bit, and then I'm like, dude, I kind of am fucking a little fat a little bit, and I'm working on not doing that. So I'm
yeah,
like,
right, right.
this is me being self-defensive, and it's like, you know what? Sometimes it's like, yeah. So it was a nice message though.
It's funny we got it's just funny we got along too because like you I think you responded like all right man hit me with the pitch I was like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
fuck,
yeah.
this guy's not fucking with it. Like, yeah, like I thought, no way he's gonna be receptive to this. Yeah, and then we ended up talking, we got along, and it was like, oh shit, it's actually
Yeah,
out, yo. So yeah, no, I'm glad it worked out. I just thought that was funny. Had to bring that up. I'm like, you
yeah.
were definitely, who the fuck is this guy? Like, why is he messaging me this? All right, get to the pitch. Like,
I used to make 60 to 100 cold calls a day. There was a very short period where I did that. And there would be people who would hang up all day. And like the few people who I got, like every once in a while you get somebody, and
yeah,
those are the people I've stayed in touch with like for years, like major like clients who have taught me so much about their business. I've helped them out with like, their rental portfolio or like purchases. And it's what, you never know who's on the other end of that phone or who's on the other end of the DM or whatever. So
yeah, make the dials, yo. Make that call.
clean the baseboards.
Clean the yeah, that's like basically clean the baseboard. That's basically what you're doing. The shit nobody wants to do, but it's like impactful. But yeah, no, it's just crazy how that shit worked out.
Who
So what
motivates
was
you? Oh, we'll go into that after. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, I was gonna ask what's your biggest piece of advice for somebody who was in your shoes? Like obviously you're in real estate. I got a lot of friends who are realtors that are like around our age. Some of them have struggled with fitness at times. I talk to a lot of guys on a daily basis, kind of in your shoes. Like, what would your advice be to Brendan 4 or 5 months ago who was like struggling with this?
I think it applies to most things in your life. And I can only give advice from the perspective of a late 20s guy, but the
Yeah, for
thing,
sure.
and the thing that you don't want to do that you're resisting doing, you need to do. That's ultimately it.
Yeah, it's like the monkey on your back. Like we'll do all the easy. It's like we always talk about like time management versus priority management. It's like we've gone over our schedules before, and it's like you got the long to do list of shit that's like easy to check off, but it's like, bro, you're supposed to call the leads. Like that's the thing you don't want to do, but you're like procrastinating on it because it's hard, it's tedious, it's difficult. It's like,
Yeah,
bro, that's the most impactful thing you need to be doing right now.
yeah,
Yes.
the life change that you're resisting,
Yeah.
you're resisting it, and you need to just address it.
Yeah. So for a lot of guys, this is probably the thing. Like, all right, man, yeah, work is going well, family's going well. I need to work on the fitness, but I don't feel like doing all the research and all this stuff, like all the work that goes in up front. I'm not motivated anyway. Let me just get to it later. And then like, yeah, it becomes harder the longer you wait. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good message there. But where were you going to ask me?
Um, hiring some like good people on the team, like having good team members is so important because like now I have like you're the fitness guy, and I'll be like
Mm,
Dallas, I go to everything fitness related, and you have every answer, and it's like now I have like an admin helping out, like I have
yeah,
like a social media person helping out, I have content people. What I was going to ask you is who do you look up to? And what are your kind of books that or who do you look up to? Let's start there. Like who's helped you most in your journey?
I would say I've had a few like mentors. Like I got a guy named Ellis. She was probably like my first coach with the fitness stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it's evolved. I've really been blessed with like a lot of just the right mentors, like just happening to meet the right people. Guy named Ellis, shout out to him. He was my first powerlifting coach, and he's somebody I guess who saw something in me early on and was like trying to mentor guy too. But he was just like, wow. So he taught me a lot of just like fitness. Damn, am I cutting out?
Yeah, you're cutting out Dallas.
Hold on.
Now you're back a little bit.
Yeah, I think I'm back.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, but anyway, long story short, after high school, I started doing the fitness stuff on my own. Like, all right, I want to get jacked now. I'm done running track. A couple of years, I spun my wheels. Like, I saw some results, but it wasn't like anything crazy. Then I was like, yo, maybe I need help with this. I never thought I did. I was like excited to stop playing sports and do my own thing. But then I'm like, well, I kind of don't know what to do. So then I got help. Somebody connected me with him. And he became a good mentor, like outside of just the fitness stuff. So I think it
Yeah,
kind of inspired me to get into coaching too. I'm like, oh, he's doing this online thing. I think I could do that once I like learn more. He taught me a lot of life lessons. He stopped coaching, so I stopped like working with him. But then we had another coach for that. A guy named Mike Chu was like my business coach. Another one of those guys where it's like there's a lot of people in the industry who does what he does, but I kind of know him personally through like mutual friends and just like people I trust put me on to people. So it's one of those things where it's like, all right, pretty much a referral. So I work with him for like my business stuff. He's taught me a lot. And dude, if I didn't work with them on the fitness business stuff, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't be posting content. I'd still be figuring out how to like make this work. So just kind of shortening the knowledge gap. But yeah, there's probably a few other people I'm missing, but like those are probably the biggest two I can think of off top. And I have a coach for my nutrition. I have a coach for my lifting stuff now. Masterminds I'm a part of, people who are like doing what I do, but like ahead of me that I consider friends, so, and then
Yeah,
even it's my friend group. I feel like my friend group is really curated with people who are like doing well for themselves in terms
right.
of like the career stuff and just even how they value their relationships with people and all that good stuff. Like just how they carry themselves. So I'm like real intentional about that. But the thing is not just having mentors, not just having people around that are doing cool stuff. It's like people that are actually like aligned with you, like people like having the right mentors. Because there's a lot of coaches out there who make big claims. It's like, all right, is that the right person for you? Doesn't mean good or bad. It just means is that the right fit for you. So that's kind of what I'm big on. Um,
Right.
yeah.
What about do you have any quotes that you live by?
Mm. It's on the spot, but I don't know. I like stoicism a lot, so I like focus on what you can control. Like just there's a lot of shit we can't we can't really do anything about. It's like why are we stressing about it? Just control the inputs. Like focus on what you control. All you can control. Things don't. Like I had a crazy childhood, but it's like I could look at that and be like, oh, that's why I am the way I am, and just make this story up, or just be like, all right, well, I can't really do shit about that. What can I do? And that's kind of like the perspective I operate with. So, yeah, whether it be sales, whether it be like fitness, yeah, you get an injury. All right, well, what can I do? What can I do? What can I control? Yeah, I can't train this, but I could train that. All right, I'm out to eat, and yeah, everybody's eating pizza, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have the pizza too, but what can I control? Okay, I can control not going over on my calories tomorrow. Like I can just get back on track tomorrow. So I kind of just operate with that lens. I'd say that's like the biggest one.
Hmm. That's
Across the
important.
board. Yeah.
Yeah, because we get so wrapped up in trying to make these major changes to things like, you know, yeah, a lot of things. So yeah.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate you asking, man. Any
Yeah.
I guess any other things you want to like leave anyone watching with? I know we talked about the biggest piece of advice you had. That was good. Anything else you feel like we're leaving out?
I think that the change starts when you decide to take the emotional and financial leap into giving someone a chance that you need. The thing that you're lacking. I have a mentor of mine who says hire for the things that you hate to do. And so I was like, I hate trying to figure out fitness. And I was like, that was it. And now it's like I would have never in a million years guessed I'd be at this point in my life, which is like I've got a lot to go and I'm sure there are going to be some ups and some big downs and that's part of life. But it's like now I have like a clothing guy and I have a fitness guy.
You got a clothing guy. Shit. All
So it
right.
should be, and it's like, dude, it's like I have a guy helping me learn how to dress, like, and it's just like, don't mismatch these socks or match your belt and your shoes, and it's like little things you learn along the way, and it's
Damn,
like,
I didn't even know that, bro. Yo, that's such a bro. This is across the board because like dressing better gonna help you at work, but like the fitness is gonna help you look better in the clothes, which is gonna help your confidence. Gonna help you. It's like a thing, and you didn't even tell me about the clothing guy, but it's like yeah, the
yeah.
way I look at shit is like
Shout out Andrew at Maxwell's. He's
yeah,
listening somewhere.
he's like he probably listen to this. Yeah, shout out to him, man. Got you in the sweater. But my thing with that is like yeah, outsourcing things to people who like do that for a living. Like I'm big on that too. I'm like, bro, I know nothing about this as long as I trust you and I trust your judgment, I trust the process. Like, what can we do? Like, that's somebody who studies this shit all day. Like, they're gonna be better at it than I am versus trying to learn everything. So it's like it's that like whole quote of like, yo, we can go far alone, further with people, but obviously making sure it's the right people. That's the
Yep, yep. And then and big shout out to Drew, Albert, Ken. Ken is a big one. Ken is a big mentor who spent a lot of time, and yeah, my mom and a whole bunch of other people. So everybody's there.
man's giving the Grammy speech. Thanks, mom.
I know, dude. It's like, you know what? You never know. This will end up when you're a billionaire. I want to be on your yacht. So
Billionaire. Yeah, bro. Of course, man. We'll get you the six pack by then.
I
What are
can't get
we?
on the yacht unless I can't be the only one without a six pack. So
Yeah, bro. You can't, man. Uh, and that's the other thing. I guess we can end on this. Like, so what are we working towards moving forward? I know we lost the first 25 pounds. We still got a little more to go. What are we working towards this upcoming year?
yeah, I mean, I think the goal, the dream has always been because I've never been there, even at my skinniest, I've never been there to be able to take off my shirt at the beach and just feel confident. And doesn't mean having a six pack. That's the goal for June of 2025. And I'm quite a ways away, and that's going to be the reach for the stars goal. But we'll see what happens. So feeling good with my shirt off. That's been the goal since day one.
Mhm. Yeah, we well on our way, bro.
We're
June,
there.
what we say? Like June,
June
something.
1st, 2025. I have to have a six pack.
Yeah, bro. We're all that's it, man.
I'm gonna be eating pine needles instead of Christmas cookies for December.
Got to, man. We got to punish you somehow, bro. All right, bro. I appreciate your time. I'll wrap this
Of
up.
course. Thank you so much.
You the man.